Alrighty, welcome back to Browns Breakdowns. My music is kind of laggy right now. Proud partners, Fanatical Wells Network, Fans First Sports Network, of course. Hemisphere Coffee Roasters, our favorite. Use that referral code right there. We get 15%. You'll love the coffee. You maybe needed it for the Vikings game in London. But yes, thank you to them. So starting off now, the Browns lose. Kind of old news now, I guess. 21-17 was the final score, correct? That might be off. No, 21-17 is the final score. Dylan Gabriel's with the start. He didn't do terrible, to be honest. He didn't do amazing, but he definitely did not do terrible. So let's talk about the game. Let's start with the Vikings, and then we'll go to the Browns. Carson Wentz was not bad, actually. We'll talk about that in a few minutes on my more thoughts. But Carson Wentz 25, 34, 236, and 1. Cam Akers had a throw. We'll talk about that trick play that kind of messed everything up. He was 1 for 132 and 1. But I mean, it was a trick play that worked, so it's not anything crazy. Jordan Mason was the rusher, 1352 for 1. Not a bad stopping him. And then Justin Jefferson, one of the keys that I was talking about, 7 for 123. Again, he's Justin Jefferson. He's not someone who is easy to cover at all. Probably one of the, if not the best wide receiver in the league. So I'm not going to I'm going to cut them a little bit of slack because of how good JJ is. But again, I said you always have to be aware of him and cover him. And they didn't do that as well, and he went off and had almost 130 yards. Next up was Jordan Addison. He was 5 for 41 and a touchdown. TJ Hawkinson, 6 for 38. Josh Oliver, 2 for 35 and a touchdown. And Jalen Naylor, 3 for 27. Next up, defense. They had a sack from Ivan Pace Jr. I think they only had one sack. Oh, no, they had two. And then the other one was from Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, was the other sack. So that is your Vikings stats here. Now on to the Browns. Dylan Gabriel's. I'll get into my thoughts about him after the statistics. He was 19 for 33, 190 yards, 2 touchdowns. Nothing insane, but not a bad game either. Better than what I think Flacco would have done. Quinshon Judkins, though, again, I'll get into him in my thoughts. 23 for 110 yards, 4.8 yards per carry as an average. He was really good that game, and so I am happy to see how he played. But we'll talk about him more in my thoughts. Next up, the receivers. David Njoku was your leader. He was 6 for 67 and a touchdown. Isaiah Bond, 2 for 29. Jamari Thrash, 1 for 22. 2 for 20 for Jerome Ford. Quinshon had a reception for 18 yards. Jerry Jeudy, not a good game from him. 2 for 15. Harold Fannin was all right, 4 for 13, and a really good touchdown. Next up, defense. Malik Collins was your leading sack. He was quite good. 2 sacks from him. Alex Wright had a sack. Carson Schweshinger was pretty decent this game. He had some good tackles and stuff. I was happy to see him. Mason Graham was all right as well. So 3 sacks, no turnovers. Do we have any turnovers this game? Okay, the Vikings had 2 fumbles, and again, we'll talk about. I have a lot to get into in my thoughts, but team statistics wise, it was actually quite even in most fronts. It was 349 total yards for the Vikings, 322 for the Browns. Passing yards was a bit skewed. The Vikings had 252. We only had 182. This goes same for the Browns. In rushing, we had 140. They only had 97. And they were 5.7 yards per play. You were 4.8. You were not good. The Browns weren't good in third down efficiency. We were 3 for 15. And the Vikings were much better. They were 3 for 9. However, you were 3 for 3 on fourth down, though realistically, you shouldn't be getting to fourth down in any case. Next up, punts. Punts is a bit skewed as well, and you definitely see how poorly this offense seemed to be running. We had 8 punts. The Vikings only had 5. Penalties, again, another problem. There was so many holdings in this game. I was joking that this is going to be called the NHL, the National Holding League, because there was like a million holdings in this game. You were 10 for 78, and the Vikings were 7 for 50, because it just felt like every play there was a holding call, and it was kind of getting annoying mid to late game because it was just holding call, holding call, holding call, holding call, holding call, and I'm like, all right, guys, at some point you got to just stop holding. Now, Quinshon Judkins did have almost a 70-yard run for a touchdown. He did have a 70-yard run for a touchdown. However, there were 2 big holdings in that play that resulted in it getting pulled back. So in another world, Quinshon Judkins almost had 200 rushing yards this game. Next up is turnovers. Vikings had 2 fumbles and 0 interceptions, and you had no turnovers. So again, this game, you had no turnovers. Vikings had 2, and you just couldn't perform and get the game completed. So before we get into my thoughts, let's do the power rankings, and then we'll do the ads, and then we'll get my general thoughts on the game. First up, the NFL.com. It's completely lagging and nothing's working. All right, there we go. The Browns sit at 27 still, or no, that's the Bengals. The Browns are 29. It's not a great spot to be. It went down by 4, and yes, it definitely was the defense didn't play as well. I think this was almost a defensive loss here because they really kind of messed up, but we'll get into that in a moment. Next up, we have USA Today. Let's see. Browns are sitting at, oh man, I scrolled too far. Browns are sitting at 26. He is 26. Here, they were 28. Could stand to cut it, lose a little more, but did earn enough to earn a win in his debut. I'm not sure what that means, but they're 26 for USA Today. That was weirdly written. Next up, CBS Sports. The CBS Sports people have the Browns at 26. So 26 is for CBS Sports, more about Dillon Gabriels. Again, this isn't all too surprising. The worst team is the Jets, by the way, in case anyone was curious. They everyone has the Lions basically as number 1. That's more or less the. Okay, apparently these guys have the. Okay, this is not what I want. ESPN is not what I wanted. Wrong ESPN. But yeah, so next, let's just do 4, I guess, today. The Yahoo Sports people have the Browns at 25. Again, these feel awfully high, in my opinion. Maybe they aren't, but they do feel like they're kind of high for the Browns. Also, ESPN has your Cleveland Browns at 26. So, again, it's kind of a general range between about 24 to 29. If you want to know my power rankings, I have the Browns at 28. I think the Dolphins are worse. I think the Jets are worse. I mean, there's a few. I think I can't think of the other teams, but I think the Browns are not the worst. I don't think the Browns will be the worst this year. I think that goes to the Jets and the Dolphins. The Saints, I have them ahead of the Saints. So the Browns aren't amazing, but yeah, I think 28, 29, maybe you want to put them a little higher, 26 even, is about where I think they'd sit for this team. And so let's do our advertisements really quickly, and then we will go to the thoughts about the game, because I have a few, so we'll be right back. And we are back on Browns Breakdowns. So, thoughts. There's a lot of thoughts I have. Let's start with the biggest one, Dillon Gabriels. So, Dillon Gabriels didn't have a poor game, statistics-wise. Now, I know statistics doesn't tell the whole story, but looking at his stats, he did not have a bad game. There were some problems with his game. Some of that you might be able to blame on the offensive line, and maybe some of it you want to blame on the scheme, on the plays, but there were some plays where he just didn't do very well. Missed some throws, did some stuff that wasn't all that great. He didn't look bad, though, and again, it's his first NFL start in an intense league, in the most important position in the league. I'm not going to be too critical of him this game because, again, it is such a it's the first game. He had some mistakes, right? He wasn't perfect. He had a lot of mistakes here and there. But again, it's his first game. He did pretty decently. I mean, he had 2 touchdowns. He had some really good throws where he was throwing really quickly. He had good ball sense where he was running through his progressions well. He definitely seemed to have a lot of good flashes. There were, of course, like I said, mistakes. But yeah, I don't think this was a bad game at all from him. I think he definitely had a lot of potential in this game. I feel like the defense kind of let him down a little bit, not allowing him to have any time to go down the field. But yeah, I think he had a good game. I think he had some good throws. Some of his throws were really on target, really quick, really fast, paced. Like I said, there were some mistakes. There were some things that he was doing weirdly. But yeah, it's his first NFL game. I won't criticize him that much. Next up, I guess we'll talk about Judkins. I mean, he's amazing. Again, he had that about 60-ish yard run that got brought back because of the pretty blatant holding call. And so, I mean, he almost had 200 yards this game had that play stood. And so, also, he would have won the game had that play stood. But yes, I mean, he would have had almost 200 yards in the game had that play continued to be legal, right? Not have the penalties. Again, it didn't, but that play was super impressive because he really picked up the speed when he realized there was an opening. You could visibly see his body pushing harder and get quicker. Like I was watching it and it literally looked like he was just running and then he was sprinting, and you could see that speed boost that he got from realizing that this could be a touchdown. He just was sprinting, and it was really impressive, his speed in that play. But yes, Judkins is amazing. He is. I still don't know if he's going to be the best running back in the league in like 2 or 3 years. He still is really good though, regardless of how good he will be. He's had amazing games, and I am super excited to see the future of him with this team. Hopefully, it doesn't get ran over by injuries or anything like that, because again, he definitely seems to have a lot of potential and a lot of ball sense. And again, that speed looks really good. That's something we don't see with him a lot, because again, he's a like a kind of a third down, second down puncher guy, not someone you'd see sprinting down the field and outpacing everybody. So that's my thoughts about Judkins. Again, I'm very happy to see him succeeding. So that's me. Next up, I will say the defense kind of lost us this game, which I wasn't expecting to say ever this season. But yeah, I think the defense lost us this game. They couldn't get a stop on that final drive. And yes, it's the NFL, right? Sometimes you just aren't able to get stops, but they just didn't get anything. I mean, they was just play after play after play, and they were all positive yardage. Now, this is somewhat on the offense's fault. This is somewhat on the defense's fault. It's somewhat of a tandem, I'd say. But yeah, this defense didn't look amazing this game. And you have bad games in a season, right? That's normal. I won't take away from what they've still been doing this year. But no, this felt like a poor game from them. Maybe it was the travel. Maybe it was tiredness. Maybe the Vikings just had what they needed to have and won. And so, yes, that final drive was really tough because, I mean, they just couldn't get a stop. They couldn't do anything in that final drive. The offense wasn't helping, but it wasn't hindering them. This was almost a defensive lost game because, and yes, the Browns had 8 punts. They were 3 for like 15 and third downs. They were fourth downs 3 times. Now, they didn't make it 3 times, but they were there 3 times. So I don't fully blame, again, it's more of a tandem between the offense and the defense in terms of this loss. But yes, this definitely felt like a offensive, or not, I mean a defensive loss, because they just couldn't get it all together. It felt like they just didn't show up for a few drives. You had a lot of missed cues and just plays down the middle, right? Justin Jefferson obviously was cooking you. You had a lot of plays where they just found their guys just like right down the middle, and there was no pressure either on an offensive line that was beaten and battered the way the Vikings was. You got to get more pressures than 3 sacks. Myles Garrett was double teamed like the entire game, but Yeah, I mean, against an offensive line that had like four backups in, you have to drill that exploit, and the Browns really couldn't. And you saw that with Carson Wentz. I mean, he was pretty stable in the backfield. So yes, this feels like an almost defensive loss, which is insane to say, but I think the defense almost lost you this game. Next up, Jerry Judy. I don't know what the Browns need to do about him. He has not been good, unfortunately. I mean, he just drops balls. He doesn't seem to be able to get open. I'm not sure what's wrong with him, but I think Jerry Judy is running out of time to be an NFL player because he is not looking good right now. I just don't understand because he isn't a bad wide receiver. I think he's a really good wide receiver. He just isn't able to get anything done. And I'm very disappointed because I really think he could be good. But yeah, he just hasn't performed. And I don't know what the Browns need to do to fix that, if they even can fix that. Is this a Browns problem or is this a Jerry Judy problem, right? So yeah, it was very disappointing to see Jerry Judy have another poor game. Fannin, I guess we'll just talk about the receiving core. Fannin looked pretty good. He didn't look amazing. He didn't have an amazing stat line, but he wasn't bad. He had that touchdown. And yeah, I think Njoku, right? Njoku had a good game. He was pretty decent on there, 6 for 67, right? I don't think he had. This is kind of been his first performance because he hasn't had a whole lot of time to play this year. But receiving wise, it hasn't looked terrible. I still think the Browns have a decent receiving core. We just haven't had the quarterback to really show that. And I mean, I guess let's talk about just in general this team and what's wrong with it. I don't know because it. I mean, I don't know because this team just feels like it has pieces. It just feels like it couldn't put them together. I made this analogy in the Thursday show, or no, just the post game, I think, that it felt like we had all the pieces for this game to win on the table, right? You're looking at the table, a puzzle piece. You have all the pieces out. We just couldn't put the puzzle together. And I think that stands true. It just was a game where everything just couldn't really click right. There were shows of good, there were shows of bad, right? Judkins, you had Dylan Gabriel's look decent. The defense was kind of iffy. It just felt like it was death by a thousand paper cuts, right? I feel like there wasn't any blatant fault on anyone. I don't think there was anywhere where it's just like this lost us the game, right? You look at the games before us, like the Ravens game, right? You say the offense lost you this. There didn't feel like there was any games where, or any spots where you could say this lost us the game right here. This play, this drive, this aspect lost us the game. It felt like a combination of things, right? Offense couldn't really perform. Defense wasn't really holding up to what they've shown they can do. Dylan Gabriel's, right, he's rookie. Dylan Gabriel's wasn't doing as well. You weren't getting any pressure, right? Justin Jefferson was killing you. It felt like a lot of small things came together to make one big thing that lost you the game in total. So yes, I do think my analogy still stands. You had the pieces, you could have won this game. It just didn't come together, and so I still don't think this was a bad game. I feel like this was a bad defensive game, yes, but otherwise, it doesn't feel like there was anything you can point to and say this was terrible. The defense, that final drive, you could definitely say was probably pretty bad with how they were performing. It just wasn't it. I mean, they just couldn't get it to go. I mean, the offense was just ripping you apart. But yeah, I think overall this game just feels like a loss. It just feels like a very average loss. It doesn't feel like I saw anything bad. It doesn't feel like I saw anything good. It just feels like you lost the game. And I don't know if that's what we want or if that's not what we want, but the Browns are looking at the number one pick this year, I can tell you that much. Well, they're not looking at it. It's probably going to be the Jets that are going to get it, but Browns are looking at a very high pick with their selection this year. You're 1-4 right now. You have a great defense. I mean, who knows what Dylan Gabriel is going to do? It depends. This whole draft, honestly, I know we're looking very far ahead to the draft already, but this whole draft depends on how Dylan Gabriel does, or how Shedeur does, right? Like if he ever starts, because it will determine what you're drafting. If Dylan Gabriel is doing amazing, then you draft offensive linemen and wide receivers to give him more weapons, right? Because you're thinking, all right, this guy's our future. Let's get him some protection on the offensive line. Let's get him some weapons in the receiving core and boost him to be good. If he isn't good, then you start looking probably even the same thing. I think realistically, this draft is going to be offensive linemen and wide receivers and some defensive pieces because you need offensive linemen, you need weapons on the wide receiver front. Both wide receivers and offensive linemen are really strong this draft. So yeah, I don't want to talk about draft too much because it is very early, but who knows, right? But that is mostly all I have for you guys. I don't have much more. So I hope you all enjoyed this breakdown of the game. If so, I guess check everyone else out on the Fanatical Elves. We have a lot of people you'll like. We have a new guy, right? He's new. We have a new person you might want to go tune into. We've got Ethan. You've got can't remember, Steve. You've got John. Man, I couldn't remember any names. Go check them out if you would like. They have great stuff as well. But if you want to stick around with me, I will be back on Saturday for the preview of this game. So I love you all, and I will be talking to you guys in the next one. Peace.